Okay, welcome to another episode of Soccer Talk. We've been away for a while. We've been on vacation. I'm Coach Deaton.
I'm Coach Kamei.
We're excited to be back. World Cup's been over. It was an excellent World Cup. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. So we're going to talk about a few things.
First, I guess we're going to talk about what FIFA needs to do as far as cleaning up the acting on the pitch. And we have a big example of that. They've been calling it
The Neymar. There's a video out there. You can look it up yourself. There's a coach teaching little boys the Neymar by having them dribble and then yell out the Neymar, and then they all fall down and complain and whine and moan.
And you may think it's funny, it's a funny gag or whatever, but then it is also telling us what the pros are capable of doing. This is the way they're affecting the game, and it's in a negative way.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And FIFA has to do something about it. Giving more yellow cards is one thing, but we were talking earlier about maybe fining the players afterwards. Because if someone elbows somebody and the referee doesn't see it, but they elbow them in the nose or whatever, they review every game and they will fine them.
Right.
So they should do the same for overacting. I mean, it's one thing if you just you fall down because you got nudged.
Right.
But if you're really doing it like Neymar did, like in the World Cup, there was one time where he was outside the pitch.
Right.
And he was on the ground and someone literally did step on his ankle.
Right.
But he didn't even say ow until the guy started walking away.
Exactly.
As if it really didn't hurt until he started to realize, hey, I might be able to get something out of this.
Right. And I understand sometimes, there's this adrenaline that you have, that sometimes you get stepped on and you don't feel the pain till after. But if you scored a goal, you don't even feel the pain and it's really bad.
Right.
But, things like you were mentioning that part where he got stepped on, he didn't do anything until he realized that the player was gone. That's where we were talking about, cleaning up the pitch, because it's trickling down. I mean, why would a coach be teaching his kids things like this? Even if he means it as a joke, it's something that it's affecting the game.
It is, and I have a lot of people that I know that aren't soccer fans. And when they watched the World Cup and they saw that kind of stuff, they said that's why they don't watch it, because it's so ridiculous.
And in its defense, we do see it in other sports. Basketball pipe being the other main one where they have the flop, that's what they call it.
Yeah.
Which it's something that shouldn't happen. I understand there's not everybody can be the same. Not everybody can be a Messi or whatever. But still, it's something that is affecting the game, and it's affecting it in a negative way.
Exactly. And that's our concern, is that it's affecting the game negatively and it's trickling down to the kids. We've seen it with our boys. They try to do the same stuff, and it's not good for the game itself. Yeah,
and we were talking about how you don't see that a lot on the women, but you were telling me how you saw it on the Brazilian against the U.S. game, which is something that we're going to talk about later.
Yeah.
How, it's a cultural thing where now it's being done by the women who don't normally do things like this.
Right.
We don't see it in the American team yet, thank God.
Yes.
But we also mentioned other things where we've seen things like where people pull their hairs, and things like that in college. There's that famous video of that girl.
Yeah.
And then the girl who's just punching and kicking all his girls in and it's on the same game. But again, it's something that the result comes from things like the Neymar thing.
Right. And when it comes to the women's game, one of the differences I like about the women's game is they don't get around the referee and whine and moan and complain and try and get the referee to change their mind. Right. Women just go on. If they see, they'll say something to the ref. They'll be like, oh, hey, and then if the referee moves on, they'll move on. And that's what I think the men need to start doing.
Right.
Is it's one thing to go up to a ref right after a call and say something to them because you're upset, but then walk away right away. That's okay, I think, because you have your emotions and you need to feel those emotions.
Right.
But when the whole team, tries to get around the ref and the ref's backing off and he's telling them to back off and they keep coming at him, that kind of stuff needs to be addressed. And FIFA, you have to do something about it because you're in charge. Nobody else is going to do it. The managers aren't going to take control of it. The players aren't going to take control of it. We, as fans, we can't take control of it. So FIFA, if you're watching this, which I'm sure you're probably not, but you should. So if you know anybody with FIFA, get it out there because they need to make this thing happen.
And you know, the funny thing is, this takes us to our next topic, which is something that happened a lot in the World Cup.
Yeah.
You know, the World Cup, we saw it a lot in a lot of games where the ref was just surrounded by players.
Yeah.
And you know, you shouldn't even be able to say anything to the refs. You know, and then the refs need to be a little bit more strict with their yellow cards.
Yes.
I mean, I understand if they're trying to avoid having too many yellows in a game, but there's times where you just need to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of our problems in the MLS here in America, that our refs are not strong enough to,
Right.
you know, the refs let the other players just yell at them on their face, you know, and it's something that needs to be fixed. And I think this is one of the reasons why our league is so weak, is because our refereeing doesn't seem to be as strong.
That's true.
You know, and on the World Cup, you saw it a lot, and you can tell the kind of refs depending on which league they were refereeing. You know,
Right.
if you look at the British refs, they were on all the time, and they were getting the yellows when they needed to.
Right.
Whereas maybe other refs in other parts of the world did not do the same kind of a job.
Right, right.
You know?
Yeah, it definitely needs to be. And speaking of World Cup, since we're on that topic, we just want to shout out to France. Great job for winning the World Cup, beating Croatia. You know, Croatia had a rough road getting to the finals.
Right.
And they're such a small country, and to get there was huge.
Right.
You know, and to have to go through all those extra minutes on all their games to get there, and they got there, and a lot of people were rooting for them, but France was just too strong.
Yeah, I think Croatia was just the underdog for the entire world, and there were a lot of people were just hoping that they would win. It's just, you know, you had a team like France where so many weapons, so many young players, so hungry to win the World Cup. I mean, they were unstoppable.
Yeah, and they were fresher because they didn't have extra time
Right.
games to play before.
Yeah,
they
and
got
with
up.
all the extra time that Croatia had, they had like an extra game.
Right,
Because
right.
that's how many extra
That's
minutes
how
they
many
played.
extra minutes they played.
And you know, it was sad to see it, but at least they got to the finals. I mean, I think everybody that I know of were rooting for Croatia.
Yeah, everybody
You know,
I know was rooting for Croatia.
Even if we have Pogba from Man U, you know,
Yeah, that's-
and you had Giroud and
I was kind of torn because of the fact that Pogba played. I wanted him to win a World Cup,
Right.
but I was also kind of in the back of my mind rooting for Croatia.
and I think a big majority of the world wanted that.
Yeah.
You know, everybody was seeing the hard work that all those players put up. You know, especially the two players that play in the La Liga. You know,
Yeah,
Modric
Modric.
and
Yeah.
what's his name on Barca.
Perisic.
And they just Perisic too, who
Yeah.
had an amazing World Cup.
Yeah.
Scored 4 goals for Croatia.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was an amazing final. The entire World Cup was great. I loved it. I mean, every
I did too.
game was amazing. And in the final was even better. You
There
know?
was just a lot of energy.
Yeah.
I felt. I
Yeah.
felt like, for me, between American football, there's the difference between watching the college and the pro. I watch
Right.
college way
Right.
more than pro because the energy level is raised.
Right.
For some reason, it's just so much more exciting.
Right. And whether it's football or basketball too, they do the same. But just the World Cup was just one of those things that, you know, we waited 4 years for it, and
Yeah.
we were so into it. And then once it's over, it's like, oh, now what do we do?
I know.
We got to go back to our regular season in the
Yeah.
EPL. So now we're going to move on to the Women's Tournament of Champions.
Yeah.
Game 1, the U.S. versus Japan. What do you think?
Hey, Alex Morgan hat trick.
Exactly.
They won 4-2 against Japan. It was a great way to start off the tournament. I think that they looked pretty good offensively.
Right.
When we talked about this earlier, defensively they're suspect.
Right.
And
right.
you were saying you noticed some.
So, yes, some weaknesses. Well, sort of not weaknesses, just disorganized in the middle, where the players got caught up, you know, on the wrong side of the field, and somebody made a move on them. By the time they realized it was too late, and somebody was open, and then took a shot and scored.
Yeah, Japan's goals were really nice.
Yeah.
They made our defense look pretty suspect.
Right, because our offense, we have our weapons. We scored 4 goals in 2 games. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that Morgan is in her game. I think she's ready for the World Cup. I think she's hungry.
Yeah, hopefully she's okay. She went down in the 87th minute of the last game, and they took her off on a stretcher actually. But when they were hosting the trophy, because they won the tournament, she seemed to be okay. So hopefully she'll bounce back by qualifying, which is in October.
And I think that, like you were saying, I think it's maybe because of the score, but also because it was a great team. Probably their best game was against Australia. That was the toughest game for them.
Yeah, they tied that one 1-1. Right. And Australia's, I tell you, they're a team to be reckoned with. They won the tournament champions last year.
Right.
And their
weapons.
They're doing really, really well.
They have some really talented players.
And a lot of them play in the U.S. And I think that again has something to do with it.
Yeah.
But for Australia, their offense, they have one of the top goal scorers in the world, and it's going to be difficult. I hope we don't face them, at least until either the finals or a semifinal, if we have to face them at all in that World Cup next year, because they're a difficult team to beat.
Yeah, I mean, it was a 1-1 tie.
Yeah.
And that great goal, that header
by Haran, and it was at the end of the game.
Exactly.
So it was a 89th minute type goal.
Right. It was a corner kick.
Yeah. And that was it was actually the first good corner by Rapinoe.
Right.
Who usually takes good corners, but that game she wasn't even barely getting past the first person. So.
And she's one of the players that amazed me, how she can find Morgan everywhere she goes,
Yes.
And then of course she gets rewarded on that game to get after the hat trick, she gets her goal too.
Yeah, and so then the U.S. they went into that last game with Brazil, only needed to win by 2 because Australia had beaten Japan 2-0, and so they were all tied up. U.S. ends up beating Brazil 4-1, and the one goal that Brazil got was actually an own goal. Davidson, she tried to clear across, and it just barely went into the upper corner of our own goal. So it was devastating, and it was the first goal that was scored in the game, so that put the U.S. on their heels, and they were behind. And then to come back and score 4 goals against a team like Brazil with Marta there, and all these other great players. Brazil's a good team, and they're ranked, I think, 7th in the world, but they're one of the top teams in all of women's soccer, and they've always given the U.S. good games.
World Cup, that's going to be tough because Brazil always steps up in the World Cup.
Yeah, and if the thing is if you didn't get to watch that game, since it just happened yesterday, it's probably replayed. If this show comes out early enough, try and catch it, or at least look at the highlights. They're a very dirty team, Brazil. Yeah. I mean, I know those of you that like Brazil guys. I'm not saying that they're the same as the guys, but the girls were really dirty, and the refereeing for this game was the worst that I have seen in a long time. And Brazil was getting away with so much, and they were off the ball stuff. So, what's great, and we kind of touched on this when we talked about the difference between the men and the women. What I like is the U.S. women just go about their business. They don't get on the referee no matter how bad the calls are. They just keep going, and they show that they're better by winning the game.
Right. And I think that has to do a lot with our program, how it's always been like that. Where the discipline is very, well kept, and like you said, very classy.
Yes, it's definitely good. Okay, we're going to move on. Our next topic, we just want to mention Chelsea sacked Conte. Obviously, this happened before the World Cup. And their new hire, Maurizio Sarri from Napoli, another Italian coach. What do you think why they're sticking with an Italian coach?
Maybe, maybe Conte wasn't the right person, but I think maybe they like the style of the Italian coaches. I mean, you see that a lot, especially in the Chelsea, organization. So maybe they're thinking it's the right coach for this team. Maybe Conte wasn't in it, the way they were expecting it at the beginning. So maybe they'll they'll see what happens. It's they're just looking for changes, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, and his coaching style it's different in Conte, so we'll see. You know, we'll see what he does.
Yeah, we have to wait and see how he handles everything.
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea's always kind of that roller coaster of coaches.
Right, exactly, and they always keep going up and down on the chart. So we'll see what they do next year, or this year actually, because if you know that it's by the time we're shooting this video, Friday it's the beginning. So
10th, Man United opens up the first
yeah.
game.
And then so from here we're going to go to the 3 new teams in the EPL, and those are Fulham, Cardiff, and Wolves.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of Fulham, and I think that's because I started watching when McBride played for them, and then Dempsey started playing for them.
Right.
And I really like their stadium. It's a smaller stadium, but it looks really kind of cool. I think, you know, these 3 teams, with the way the EPL is going, they have a shot of staying in.
Right.
You never know. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle it.
And I think the Wolves is one of those teams where sometimes they just struggle to stay on there, but when they go down, they're always a top team.
Right.
So they move right away. Even if they go down, they tend to move up right away.
Exactly.
Fulham, I was surprised, you know, that they were down
For so long.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because they're one of those clubs that, you know, it's like they need to be in EPL.
Yeah.
You know, they need to be in the first division. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
it'll be a tough year for them.
It's
But
going to be interesting to see
Yeah.
what happens. Okay, so we're going to talk, just to mention a few transfers. There's the biggest one, Ronaldo to Juventus. What do you think?
yeah, well, and I think that was a big impact. You know, I think a lot of Madrid fans are sad. You know, he didn't get to win the La Liga on the last one. He won the Champions, and then he didn't have his World Cup. He had a great World Cup. It's just, of course, his national team didn't make it past.
Yeah.
You know, the second round. But you know, I think Juventus, you know, they're a strong team. They're ready to win it again. Adding him up is a big thing. You know, Ronaldo's still in his prime. He may be getting older, but he's still playing, and he showed it at the World Cup that he wants to, you know, play. And of course, you know, if they got the right, you know, the amount of money, then they're going to take him.
And he showed that he can play with less talent.
Right, and still be able to score.
Yeah, so I'm not saying Juventus has got less talent than Madrid, really, but
It's a different team.
it's a
than
different
Madrid.
team, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do in the I think it's all about Champions League.
Right.
I don't think they got him or drew him over there so that he can help them win the league. They already do that. I
Yeah.
think it's about the
The
Champions
Champions,
League.
right? Because you know they won the league recently, and whereas in the Champions, everybody was expecting them to win. I mean, they had a great team, and
Right.
yet they weren't
They
able
still
to get
haven't
out
been
there.
able to
Yeah.
put over that hump.
So, like you said, yeah, Champions is a big deal, and that's their next goal. And then the next one, Mahrez to Manchester City.
I'm telling you, Manchester City, they just keep plucking out those best. Mahrez is the best player on Leicester City, and now he's in Man City. It's like, what? Okay.
Take the best players from every team.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they've been doing. So Man City obviously is going to be, you know, obviously they're the EPL champs. They're going to be the team to beat. I obviously hate them. But for Mahrez to go there, you know, I think he's going to do just as well there.
Right.
If he can get enough play time.
And that's what worries me because he's so young. We'll see how much playing time he gets. You know, because there's a lot of talent there.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many players that didn't get as much playing time this year.
Well,
and they had the talent.
When Sanchez came to us in January to
Right.
Man United, that was a big talk. Why? Because Man City was talking about taking him.
Right.
But he wouldn't have started and played as much. And so for us, he's playing all the time. So I
Right.
think that's a big reason why he came to Man
Right.
United.
Right.
And obviously Mahrez would be playing all the time if he came to us, but he's not. So be it.
Yeah.
The other team who looks super strong, Liverpool. I hate to say this, but they look like the team to beat this season. They
And
signed.
now with the signings.
Yeah, they signed a goalkeeper from Brazil,
Alisson, which had a great World Cup.
had a great World Cup, and then they signed Shaqiri on top of that. So it's like, you know,
The two top teams that I'm thinking right now in the EPL, are taking some of the best players.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about, being, able to acquire all these players, it's going to make them even better. I mean, Shaqiri had a great World Cup.
Yeah, and in the friendly against us, he had a bicycle kick goal that was beautiful.
Yeah.
So, and he just had come on for halftime. So, yeah, Shaqiri's from Switzerland. He's a great player, and he's getting up there in age, and I think that's why some people didn't sign him. But I think
he's like Ronaldo. He's still there. He's scoring.
I agree, and I think that's why Klopp, was like, hey, let's take him.
Yeah.
I think he only
I
went
would
for
have taken
16
it
mil.
if I was an Arsenal manager. Say, hey, let's get him over here.
Yeah, and he didn't go for much.
Right.
So like Mahrez, he went to Man City for 60 mil.
Yeah.
Whereas Shaqiri, I think, went for $16 million.
That's a bargain nowadays.
Yeah.
You think it's a lot of money? It's not.
It's not.
It's a big bargain, especially for someone like him.
Exactly.
All the stuff that he can do, I would have taken it to Arsenal at any time.
And he would have fit in well with
Exactly.
Arsenal.
Yeah. Now with Ozil taking over, so yeah.
I mean, he fits in well with Liverpool. They play kind of the same style now, so.
Yeah.
Okay, our next transfers.
Next transfer, we go to Wilshire to West Ham.
Which,
Arsenal.
going to West Ham's not the big thing. The reason we mention it is because he was an Arsenal player, and he's our Arsenal fan here.
Yeah.
Are you upset that you're losing it?
Maybe it's time for him. I guess he wasn't getting what he wanted to, so maybe he wasn't as happy with Arsenal. And maybe it's a good move for him.
Do you think it's going to affect you guys?
I'm looking at the last game. I saw the highlights against the PSG game, and we look like we're going to be okay with that. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a big hit on us.
Maybe it's more of just in behind the scenes in the locker room because he's so mature.
Yeah,
and been around.
he was a big guy, one of those guys that led the team a lot. So he was there for so many years that we're going to miss that from him.
Yeah.
So it's tough, but I guess maybe he'll have a better future out there in West Ham.
Yeah. Now you guys signed a good player.
Yeah, Luca. I want to pronounce his name right. Torreira from Uruguay, who was in the World Cup, had a good team, and this is something that I was, when I heard about this signing at first, I was like, oh yeah, this is the right player for Arsenal. This is the kind of guy that you want playing with Ozil, playing in the middle, being able to have that style of game that Arsenal, had. So because we got a Spanish coach that had some sort of the same style as Arsenal, it'll be a good fit. I think this is a good player to bring at the time, even for his age. So.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is the main reason why we want to do the show to begin with. We haven't had a chance to do it because the league has been over, but now we're going to preview our teams and then the games that they're going to be playing. So Man United opens up against Leicester City on the 10th, and it's the very first game of the EPL in the opening game.
Right.
And it's on a Friday. And so, of course, my coach, Mourinho, is whining about that, as he has been all summer about everything, which I probably mentioned before. I'm not a big Mourinho fan, but he's my coach now, so I'm going to support him. But I'm not happy with what he does, the way he talks bad about the players in press conferences and the way he whines about the summer. Hey, Mourinho, everybody had the same problem in the summer because their players were gone. We had 10 players that were out for World Cup.
City.
Yeah, Man City had 16. So it's normal. It's not that big a deal. And I agree that the summer games aren't important. But you have some young players, Pereira, who plays in the middle, should definitely be a starter and should definitely be playing for Man U. Fosa Mensah is really good. Tanzabi is really good. And, forgive me for all you Man U fans if I'm botching their names. I've never been good at that. But I think Man United, they're not looking good right now. And I'm really concerned about it. And opening up with Leicester is actually a good thing for us. Vardy and Maguire are really the big guys they have now that Mahrez is gone. So we at least have a team that's not so strong. And honestly, I don't know who's going to be ready. Lukaku came back 3 days earlier, so maybe he'll be ready to play a few minutes of the first game, but he's definitely not going to be ready to play the whole game. Rashford came back a little bit earlier. Jones came back a little bit earlier. We may sign somebody between now and then.
Right.
The signing date is only 6 days away on the 9th. So it's the day before we even open up with games.
Right.
So I don't know. And then we're going to have players that are going to leave because the other clubs in the other countries, they're still able to sign players until the end of the month of August. So, could I give a prediction? I think Man U's going to win the game. I think it may be a 1-0. I don't think it's going to look good. But I could be wrong, So that's what I say. I'm not super excited about the season right now with the way that we've been playing. I mean, I'm excited to see us get playing, but we'll have to see what happens. There's lots of talk on whether Mourinho's even gonna be there by the end of the season. This is his third year, and usually he leaves either at the end of his third year or sometime during his third year, so we'll see. And then Arsenal.
Well,
Arsenal.
We talked about this earlier. We're opening against Man City, which at first my first reaction is like everybody's like, oh great, you got to open against Man City, the PPL champions right now, best team in the league so far. But then you tell me maybe this is a good thing for them because at least we get to see what they have from the beginning, and then Arsenal's going through an adjustment time right now, just like Man U is going. So I think our teams are going through the same thing right now. We're just opening for different teams, but I like the game that we played against PSG. I got to see some talent there that I figure this is going to be something that's going to be great for the year. I see people who are going to be able to fill in spots, for the players who when they need him. So we're okay. I think playing against Man City is going to be tough for the opening game, but I think Arsenal's ready, and this is going to be a good test for our new coach.
Yeah, and I think it's the perfect time to face them because of the fact that they had so many players at the World Cup. Right. Who knows how many of those players are going to be able to play a whole game if play at all. Right. Some of them are going to be coming back within the next couple of days from vacation. They're not going to be ready.
Right, and I was thinking this too, like players like Rashford, they didn't see a lot of playing time in the World Cup, so they're going to be okay. Whereas you have Lukaku who played a lot, maybe the entire World Cup, so he's going to be tired. Yeah. So it just depends, Also had a short World Cup, unfortunately for them, they went home early, so he looked good at PSG. Right. So, those are the things that we're looking at right now. So come Friday, we're going to see which teams are ready, If not, how long is the adjustment period going to take? Whether are we going to be ready to be at the top right away or not? Are we going to have to climb up?
Yeah, and remember, it's not really how you start. It's how you finish.
It's how you finish,
so
exactly.
Even if you lose the first one, well, you've already got Man City out once.
Right.
So then you only have to face them one more time for the rest of the year. And so if you could even get a tie out of this, that's a win.
Exactly.
For you guys. So, it's going to be a good year. I think it's going to be an exciting season to see how everybody's going to do. And there's still a few days left in the transfer market. Right. Nothing. Have you seen anything?
No.
We're going to, try to stay on top of it.
Different updates. It's just there haven't been any lately that were big enough to be able to mention. So maybe by the time you see this video, there might have been some, and then we may not be able to do another show till the end of the month. So we'll see. Yeah,
but we're excited that you guys joined us on this one, and we're looking forward to seeing you throughout the year.
So tell your friends and let them know that we're here. We love doing this show, and this is for you guys and for us. Anybody who's a fan of soccer, especially here in America, try to get as much information as you can, because here comes La Liga and here comes EPL and all the other leagues in the world.
Yeah.
Even though the MLS, it's on its halfway point.
Yeah.
But everything else is about to start. EPL starts on Friday, and then everybody else starts at the end of the month.
Exactly.
So it'll be a great year.
Let's hope. Man, you go Reds.
Go Arsenal, go Gunners. So we hope you enjoy the show, and we'll see you on our next show.
Have a good one.
Coach, have a good one.